Hi, welcome to PDQ Live. Today is an extra special show. We have John Hammond with us. Hi, John.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for letting me join you. This is awesome. Super happy to be here.
We are very excited to have you. We're going to talk about all things cybersecurity today. Pretty much anything John wants to talk about, right?
Yeah. I think you have some prepared questions, but I think we're happy to take stuff from the chat and we can take this conversation any direction.
Anywhere,
right?
Yeah. Open book. Happy
Okay.
to dive in anything.
What do we start with?
Let's see. Should it be cybersecurity?
Yeah, probably. Yes. Good call.
Okay, cybersecurity. Why don't we talk about how did you get into cybersecurity, John? Should we start there?
Goodness.
Just for
Certainly.
fun. Talk about you.
Well, hey, I'll try to be brief because I realize that's I don't know, silly, boring talking about myself or whatever. But I felt like as a kid, growing up, I kind of thought like any other kiddo, like, oh, I want to make video games or I want to do cool, I don't know, stuff on a computer like I see in the TV, like in Hollywood and movies. Maybe that's a cool career. And I was thinking, oh, let's learn a lot of software engineering. That sounds right. Like I'll learn to be a programmer or something. I think I had actually Googled, I remember typing in the input box, how to become a hacker, because seeing all the sweet Hollywood movies and stuff, that looked really interesting. And I'd stumbled across Eric S. Raymond, one of the old free and open source software visionary guys. And he had said, look, if you want to learn how to be a hacker in one way, you still got to learn how to program. You still got to learn some coding, some scripting. And at that time, he recommended the Python language. And I thought, well, I'll Google and learn and research what that is. So followed a bunch of YouTube video tutorials, and that spawned another thread of my life. But then I was thinking, okay, I'll do software development, game development stuff in coding and programming. And it never wasn't strictly that as much of a hacker and so the cybersecurity perspective until I had joined the Coast Guard. One of the military services, and they had an interesting spin, right? Because you bring someone to the battlefield, or you put in more of a government or military sense. They care. Hey, it's neat that you made this thing. It's cool to see you make something, but can anyone break that something? So that opened the whole world of vulnerabilities and exploits and CVEs, and just knowing, oh, okay, yeah, we can stand something up, but let's make sure it doesn't fall over. But that was how it started, that flare and trajectory. A little bit of Coast Guard upbringing.
Fun fact, Josh was also in the military. You're military buds.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Okay.
So did you make any games?
No.
I was going to say, can we play them right now?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
Oh,
I fell too quickly into the trap of security.
So security from there.
Yeah. It's funny, when you're learning, there's a whole lot of big emphasis on capture the flag exercises. These small games or activities where you solve different tasks or challenges. It will help you get stronger and sharper in web application security or the memory corruption stuff for programs running and applications on your computer or cryptography or forensics. So there are a whole lot of different fields that you can explore and dig into, but it was just a whole wide world that was exciting and fun, and I fell down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, the red team's always the exciting thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be red team. That's the cool hacker movie stuff.
That's what they make. I know it always looks sexy, right? It's attractive. But I know really for my day job now, I'm working at Huntress as the blue team, the defense, the protecting and hardening things. That's really, I think, where a lot of the value comes in. Because look, you're making a difference from bad people that are breaking stuff with ill intent and just wreaking havoc for poops and giggles. Well, all right, let's bring the fight to the front there.
So, I'm sorry.
Have CTFs been a big thing? And in person, I know there's some free online ones. You have some recommended ways for people to start? Because I know that CTFs, like you're saying, huge way to get those actual practical skills rather than just trying to theoretically read things.
Absolutely. It's very depending on the direction you want to go in. And I'm sure maybe folks listening might be familiar with some of the common ones you hear spoken. There's a PICO, CTF, PICO, capture the flag, try hack me, hack the box, et cetera, and those again lean more into the offensive adversarial red team work. But some of the blue team and defense stuff you could find online for KC7, I think has some good stuff. Other things you can track down. But there's plenty out there. It is really just a matter of being willing to Google and willing to look out across the internet.
Now, what do you think is the most, if you had to pick, let's say 3, what is the most important thing to harden your environment from what you just said, the defensive standpoint?
So I'm going to be super boring.
Yes, I like boring.
I'm very sorry. I realize, I know this is the same trite stuff that every security person will just scream and shout from the rooftops, but it's the boring, basic boilerplate. Long, complex passwords. Don't use the same one for every service. Multi-factor authentication. Absolutely stinking everywhere, anywhere that you can. And let me, can I squeeze in one more? Usually just the boring security awareness. Don't click on links. Don't plug in USB drives. Blah, blah, blah. The same stuff you've heard 1,000 times. The reason we keep saying that is because it's the right answer, which is annoying, I know, but like, no, we're really trying to drive that home.
Yeah, I think the last point there is interesting to me because it's probably the most difficult to implement in an organization, right?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes as the blue team, you're like banging this drum and almost crying wolf. Like something bad is going to happen, something bad is going to happen. And that only will get you so far, or you use security as a weapon internally. I've seen that turn cultures just sour on a security. From your perspective, is there some ways that like our sysadmin viewers could attack that angle differently to get a better result?
Yeah.
I have one tidbit that I can bring to the table here. But honestly, it works well, I think, because we're in a remote work environment. I don't know, hey, if folks tuning in or if you're in office or one way or the other, but when any of us, employee, individual, someone on the team happens to get what looks like or might be or could be a phishing email or something that is a trick, or hey, I just got this weird pop-up notification on my computer, I just kind of want a sanity check. Even if you, for one thing, ask that question, for one thing, hey, bring it to someone and just get another set of eyes before you go clicking on stuff. But when we get to see some of those Security 101 training phishing emails where it's got all the silly indicators of broken English, of, the wrong logo for a company they're impersonating, just silly stuff that looks like a run-of-the-mill, commonplace garbage thing. We make fun of it. You slap it into Slack in general, Discord or whatever, and then you just kind of get a community, hey, everyone else just saying, look at how silly this is. Like, that's a bad lure. That's a bad trap. They were trying to trick us, but you know what? We're smarter. We're vigilant on that. And then everyone kind of just giggles and laughs at, wow, what a funny attempt that was. And that I think, I really hope breeds a good culture because more people are willing to do that. They're like, hey, I want to show someone this because, for one thing, if it's silly or if it's genuinely, that could have been maybe someone we'd fall for, you're bringing it out to the limelight. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said something that kind of makes me want to ask a question. Obviously, bad logo choice, poor English, those type of things. I think generative AI, because I think this is a question that someone asked before, right? Generative AI and how it affects security in the future, right? From my perspective, I think that's where generative AI is going to be the most effective, right? For that effective spearfish, right? Because now I can feed it all of the context that I may have learned about an organization and even how they maybe speak internally, right? To have a better chance. Oh, yeah. Would you agree that that's like a pretty common use case or going to be or is?
Yes. And I know the AI, that's a hot topic and there's a lot to dig into, right? But for, I think, the offensive and adversarial work, bad actors wanting to use the old chat GPT or whatever to spit together phishing campaigns, social engineering, business email compromise. You're absolutely right. Hey, they can sharpen this to the same tone, to the same language, the same lingo for the internal company if they've done that homework, if they've done their recon ahead of time, and they can then farm that out in mass. Like AI can make 1,000 permutations of one phishing email and make something a little bit more unique. And I don't mean to be fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, and gloom and doom with that. I think that's just knowing, like, hey, you are using the automation, the tech that's presented, and how you can abuse that for real intent.
So if you had to flip that on its head, right, on the blue team side of the house, do you see use cases for the AI? Because I know it's like we've just had question after question after question. What about AI? What about, well, it's a hot button topic. So
I'd love to get your take on this as well, to kind of get your perspective. But the one that comes to mind for me in using a lot of that hot newfangled tech for defense is, hey, really using it to better detect anomalies, better detect what's odd, what's different, what's weird, because it can take the baseline in the new way that maybe we haven't been able to do before, because it takes so much manual effort to spot check every single corner, crevice, part of your infrastructure, ecosystem, and environment. If we can, if we're willing to, if we might, pour that into some model, it'll do a better job, or at least it'll be watching maybe more than a human might. I'd still think we can supplement those. We should be playing in harmony, human and machine together there.
Yeah.
But it's good to have someone looking. I have a good friend of mine, and if I'm rambling, please forgive me, but he calls this a really interesting thing. He calls it the asteroid problem. So this is silly.
Ooh, I'm
I don't know.
interested.
But it's like, look, if a meteor or asteroid were to hit the Earth, are we looking for that? Or someone just looking out in the sky? Are we relying on hobbyists that just have a telescope in their backyard to see it? Well, what if we had some automated thing that we're doing that and looking and at least watching for the folks that aren't? So silly. I don't know. Maybe a breadcrumb for you.
That's a great analogy of how to be thinking about how to defend.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is important to you? What should you be caring about? What should you not be caring about? Right? Because for everything that you decide, I want to give this effort, you have to make that conscious decision to not care about something else or care about it less.
Well, yeah, you can put all this work into it and harden everything you want, but at the end of the day, it just takes one user to click on one thing, and sadly. So how do you get them to listen to you? That's the biggest thing. How do you build up that environment? How do you instill that culture of vigilance so they are not just click happy? That's the hardest part, I think. What's your advice for that?
This is one of my favorite things. So if I may, I don't want to nerd out, but
Please do.
I think when you can really make it something, if you can present something to someone and make it something that they're, I don't want to say interested in, because that's the goal, right? But make it something that they can relate to, or they understand, or it's part of their world already. When Log4j came, it was a big stir years ago. I had this silly YouTube video where I showcased you could use that Log4j exploit or this bug in Minecraft, the video game. And that, I think, did pretty well, because there are a lot of kids, there are a lot of folks, hey, maybe folks that have their sons or daughters or friends that play this game, everyone sees that and say like, whoa, that affects so many different things, but it's in this now accessible concept that they're aware of.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for, hey, you guys are using Microsoft 365? Sweet. Let me show you this cool illicit consent grant attack token code, whatever steal. And they're like, wait, you just took over my calendar. You just set up these meetings with employees and blah, blah, blah. Just make it something that they can see, they can visualize, and make it something that is really pertinent to them and what they do. I don't know if I'm barking up the wrong tree.
Make it fun, but terrifying is what you're saying. Awesome. But it is fun. If you make it fun, then they're more invested in it.
Yeah.
Actually. And you take time to form a relationship with them. So they're going to listen to you more. It becomes less about white noise and more about, okay, I'm going to invite you to the party, so to speak.
It's trying to get that education and awareness out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you have to acknowledge, there are some things that might be interesting or fascinating to folks. Like I poke around in the silly dark web, and I know that's cheesy to say sometimes because it's just the internet. It's just, whatever, onion router crap. But people think, whoa, the spooky, scary mystique of the dark web.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, let me show you what threat actors are chatting about, what ransomware operators look like.
Yeah.
That raises some eyebrows. And I think that's a good way to help bring that to a person new and make it real to them.
So, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I think, ransomware operators are the most close to home thing for most IT operators, right? That's the thing that you probably know someone in your immediate network has dealt with at some point. I always think it's interesting to try and break these type of attacks down, like a step-by-step kind of playbook, because as you go back and look at this, some of these people had established persistence for months beforehand.
Oh yeah.
Before anything even happened. What should our sysadmin viewers be doing? Is there ways to look for indicators of compromise? How do you know what you don't know?
Or which one to focus on. Because if you've ever monitored a dashboard, a vulnerability manager, or a virus protection, Which one do you pay attention to? That's, I think, a great question because
Yeah.
it'll make you crazy.
Here's some context, right? A lot of the viewers and a lot of people that watch this show are a solo practitioner, right? They wear all of the IT hats in an organization. So they're flying help desk, network admin, sysadmin. Oh, and I've got this little side hat of security as well. So what should those folks be like looking for?
First of all, I feel you. Like, my heart goes out to you, and I know you're doing everything that you can in all these different directions. So with that, the best that you can do to prioritize when you see the critical alert or the high severity stuff, that's worth digging into. And make that the priority when you're fighting fires. And when you can get those fires out, then take the time to go look at some of the medium high stuff that you should implement, but will take time. Man, goodness, there were a whole lot to the question. Where else should we go with that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like so if I'm a sysadmin, right, and I work at a shop and I'm tasked with security and help desk and all of these other things, right? I know my friend down the road just got hit with ransomware, and I'm doing everything I can. If I had like my checklist, make sure that I'm not a victim, where do I start on that checklist?
Ooh.
Like, what is the most common attack vector today? Like in your experience, like what is it? Is it still business email compromise? Someone's still clicking a phishing link. Is there something new? Is there something that's interesting?
Okay, quick pot shot on that. Info stealer malware, a lot of the stuff that'll just be trying to grab your cookies or grab your passwords, saved cache information stuff, that is running rampant, and I would honestly put that higher than ransomware in the severity conversation, just because that is what opens the door for ransomware and a lot of initial access brokers and wholesale access stuff. But to the point of what you were saying, okay, now how do I carve through this checklist? Back to the front of that. Folks are familiar with the Center for Information or Center for Internet Security, CI Security. They have a lot of fantastic benchmarks and controls, stuff to dig into. And that's, I think, a little bit more palatable and approachable than the NIST framework, NIST.
Okay,
personally.
so you like this.
Yeah, I like those. And when people want to map to a framework or have that as a thing to use as a guide, the CIS controls are really cool.
Okay.
But the question of, okay, where do we go? What do we do? This is a crappy answer, but I would say start at the top and then go. And if you're feeling like, oh, that bullet point right there, that line item, that one's a little bit tough. That's going to take a couple of weeks, couple months. I don't know if we can do that right now. It's like, okay, sweet. You've at least got that self-awareness. Go look at the next one. Go move on to the other different benchmark or control and see like which of these are somewhat actionable that I feel like I can do. And then do them.
I think for a lot of people, it becomes this giant mountain that they have to climb, right? They look at the environment they're in and they say, oh, it's such a mess. Why even try? But that's the problem, right? That's the mindset that you need to switch is just start. Like just pick a place and start and just incremental progress, right? There's always going to be something more to do. And if you just have that mindset of there's always something more, then just know you're never going to make it. And that's okay because it's just incremental progress.
Agreed.
So just more tickets.
Yeah. Just
Well, and I know we kind of talked about this before, but so the landscape seems to be changing. It never stops changing.
Right.
But it used to be more EDR and then managed response and then zero trust network. And it's just kind of changing. Where is it now? Where do you place the importance with the industry, cybersecurity in general? Do people still do endpoint management?
Oh, yeah.
What's the industry trend now?
My brain is a little bit split on this because I think the endpoint world is absolutely vital, extremely critical. The device, the computer, your Windows OS, Mac, Linux, whatever, that is where it happens. Usually that's where we're talking about malware. That's where we're talking about ransomware. But you've got the new element here when people start saying the cloud, right? When people start saying AI, blockchain, Kubernetes, whatever buzzword, right? But if we distill that down, let's think, okay, your personal stuff that you might work with for your organization, for your job. Maybe you're working with some AWS resources for Amazon. Maybe you got some Google Cloud shenanigans, but most folks are a lot of like Azure or Microsoft 365. That when you bucket it into cloud, right? I think that's more of identity. I think that's more of, hey, your account, your personal being as you sit through meetings, as you get in the calendar, as you are, I don't know, sharing files across SharePoint. Well, look, those are those cloud locations, but you don't really need traditional malware to hack into that stuff. If we look at some of the old Uber incidents, there was a hack some time ago where Lapsus, some threat actor kind of broke in there. That's a super cool case study because there was no malware. It was just swinging from one cloud or online service to the other thanks to their identity, their token. They could pivot into Slack. And that's a whole lot of, I don't know, confidential information, some sweet business details that might be shared there. Teams, right?
Yeah.
That is still an absolute attack surface and a priority. So I don't know if that really answered your question. I'm sorry.
No, it did. And I
But it's
noticed
split.
not this month, but 2 months prior, they were going after Kubernetes, which is interesting. More permission attack, identity attack, like you just mentioned. So it is kind of changing.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
It's such a wide field. Like, you want to talk about, rootkits, bootloaders, some of that crazy stuff? Or, I don't know, should we just dig into some of those attack threats for phishing? Like, there are many, many different directions, but just focus on what you think is most tactical for your organization.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is no more users, John. What you're saying is don't have users in your environment, right?
Just unplug it. Yeah, just don't.
Company of one. That's how you do it.
I do think it's always been interesting to me. The most interesting kind of case studies are the ones that have the most simple attack.
Right.
Right? Like, no one sat down and wrote this elegant application to target an attack. Like, it's just something simple.
Bottom of the barrel.
It's the bottom of the barrel. It's something that just happens. It's commonplace. That just allows, like, well, now I can pivot here. Now I can pivot here, and I can escalate to this. Right? Those are the ones that are the most interesting to me because they're the things that people aren't necessarily thinking about.
Right.
Right? They're thinking about the big scary. Right? They're not thinking about the little, oh, now I can just view your data in Slack. Okay. Well, if I view your data in Slack, I can do so many other cool things now.
Yeah, I'd say focus on those security baselines. Get your configurations right because so often configurations are not on point. But you have a really interesting perspective in that you've been in this world for a while. And I'm curious, what is the market or what is the ecosystem like for those hacker groups? Because from what I understand, there's a bunch of APTs. They're pretty well funded. They have novel solutions at some places. Like, can you give us some insight into how you conceptualize that whole world?
I can try. Let me do my best, but I'll add the disclaimer. I'm not a threat actor, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how it looks on the inside of a spooky, scary cybercrime syndicate. But I do try to look on and see the Telegram channels. Like that's social media for adversaries. And some of it is crap. Some of it's fake. Some of it's just nonsense, crap, silly stuff on the internet. But some of it, like a ransomware blog, is pretty legit. There's real stuff there. When you can kind of poke and peer into those forums or bulletin board sites where you do see folks buying and selling access, like, hey, here's an open RDP that I found. You want it? It's $200. This business has got a revenue of like $10 million and I've got all the passwords and credentials, but it's for sale. If you want it, hey, hit me up, escrow, Jabberwix, Talks, whatever. And that's it.
And bunches of hacks have used that as the entry point.
Oh, yeah.
They buy access and do a bunch of bad stuff afterwards.
That's one of those examples of those initial access brokers where, hey, they'll pop an organization, but then just say, I'm good. I'll just sell it to whoever is willing to pay the next highest dollar for it. And then oftentimes that's some ransomware actors as well. Or they start mining crypto. That's the threat we deserve.
Internal threat actors have been trying that too at different works.
No comment.
That is kind of that's kind of a question I have for you. As you look
Did I miss the mark there though? Or is there more to dig into for that?
I think that pretty much addresses it. The market, there are people who specialize in different things. There are some big threat actors. It is a market. There is money exchanging hands there.
Kelly, do you have a question?
Well, I was just going to ask, when you look at the landscape and you're just kind of sitting there looking at, new emerging threats, what are the things that keep you up at night? I mean, when you're sitting there in your room at night going, oh, this is bad. What are those things?
Yeah, what really scares you?
It's like if I get a Slack message that says this, I'm going to be freaking out.
Oh.
He's not going to say it because then someone's going to do it.
He goes to his phone. All his coworkers are
Don't
pranking
say
him.
this.
No, it is a super good question. And I don't know. I don't know if it touches a hot stove by any means. when a threat actor will abuse, like legitimate tooling that might have access one to many, that can make for a bad time.
Remote desktop kind of stuff?
Yeah.
You made videos about that. I watched them. Yeah. So quick assist.
Yep.
Scares you. You did one. You talked about disabling your environment if you don't use it. Yeah. That was this actually Patch Tuesday. There was 3 vulnerabilities this month about that.
Goodness.
So
Heck yeah.
okay, so that's
Yeah,
legit.
I mean
Disable it in your environment though. That's a pretty easy
well,
fix
no, like
if you don't use
the
it.
one-to-many command and control that already exists in an environment getting breached. Oh yeah,
But
keep you up at night.
if you know the products you use and the ones you don't, those are great IOCs that you
Yes.
can now have. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
they're using some RMM product we've never heard of. What the heck?
Why is it here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a no-no.
Application inventory,
Yeah.
asset inventory, baselining, all the stuff we keep chatting about.
Yeah,
without a
I
doubt.
will say, like as IT, keeping track of application inventory seems like an impossible task, right? Because there's so many people that can just go sign up, continue with Google, continue with Microsoft 365, and that user can give consent for so much, and then it's hard to keep track of. So not only just installed apps, but stuff people are giving access to almost anyone on the internet.
Right.
Like that is such a tough hill to get on top of. But I think you're absolutely right. Application control is king.
I'm looking at chat. Hey, seeing folks tuning in.
Yeah.
Marcel, I appreciate, he noted, look, I'm really scared of supply chain intrusions and breaches, talking about Linux libraries. I think he's harkening back to the XZ debacle. And yeah, that one was pretty spooky. That was probably one of the most sinister things we might have seen. A backdoor in such a prolific, widely used library that could have very well gone unnoticed. That's the stuff that's spooky in my mind.
Yeah.
We could run down the AI laundry list if we really wanted to. The info stealers, again, I put a little higher than ransomware these days. But
What about the 10 billion passwords that got hacked recently? The
yeah.
AT&T and the the Ticketmaster. What about that kind of stuff? Does that freak you out? I mean, 10 billion. That's kind of a lot.
Is this Rock You 2024?
I think so.
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
I think so.
The Federal Reserve got hacked recently. What about that?
Lockbit was the one that was saying, hey, yeah, we hit the Federal Reserve. And then when the data came out, it was for a completely different spot. It was Evolve Bank and Trust. Yes. I think when you get to see some spooky, scary headlines, it's worth, if you can, digging into and doing the best validation. When we saw this big password list combination come out, for folks that might not be tracking, normally when hackers or threat actors or even penetration testers want to brute force something, they'll have this big long list of all the possible options, like letters A, AA, AAB, whatever. It'll brute force that. Or they could use a list of dictionary words, stuff known over and over again, like the most common passwords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The word password, the silly stuff, and that could go on for hundreds of thousands or millions of entries. So traditionally there was an old file, and it's known as the rocku.txt for passwords that could be thrown and tried repeatedly to see which of these is the right one. And recently in the news, there was a big hullabaloo of a RockU 2024 that came to life. Amalgamation of all these other past data breaches and spilled info and passwords that were collected. And I tried to download the list and then the network errored, and it sounded like a lot of other people had that same error. But for the folks that did get it down, I think it actually had some oddball stuff in there, like things that weren't passwords, just random broken data. So again, I would think if you can validate, if you can verify, that's good to do. Sometimes it's just noise. Sometimes it's just more of the, stuff we might see in the news to spook and scare. But at the end of the day, we can still take that with some moral of we should make sure our passwords are pretty good. We should be using a password manager, darn it.
Yeah. He's just like you. You're very calm. He's very calm too. So I think that's good.
Well, there's no sense in panic. It doesn't help anybody.
No.
Yeah.
Can't panic every day.
You ready for some questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, Kelly, I think we have a bunch that have come in.
Yeah, I see some more questions here. So.
We do, and we'll get to those because we've included them. Okay. Question number 1. What is your take on the increasing number of threats the past 2 years, and how will AI impact the security of things in the future? Attack side versus defending side. Sincerely, Marcel.
I think we tackled that one in the
A
beginning.
little bit.
Yeah.
I have another breadcrumb that I might sprinkle in, but hey, is there anything you guys would like? I feel like I'm talking a lot, guys.
That's what you're here for.
That's a show with you, with us.
You're the guest.
No, I would just go back to like the same things that we talked about at the beginning. Like from the attacking side, yeah, I can use generative AI to make a bunch of phishing emails. From the defense side, generative AI or ChatGPT is actually pretty good at going through logs,
Yeah.
right?
Data sets and stuff.
As like, and then asking questions about it. It's pretty good at that. So it can make like your hunting a little more efficient in some cases, right? But AI is not going to be this magic bullet. You're not going to have this AI sim that can just do everything for you. It's not there yet.
I think
Maybe
it could be
one day.
used to add like supplementary information without like a super strong confidence level on certain things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But also, just like all other AI things, AI can hallucinate sometimes. And that's bad data is worse than no data, in my opinion.
If I may, the first half of that question before the AI was talking about, hey, the increased number of threats and like vulnerabilities for the past couple of years and recently. I would like to say, and maybe this is like a glass half full optimistic perspective, but I think that's a really cool and good testament to the industry, to us, to folks living and breathing this stuff day in and day out. Like that means, look, we're getting better at finding this stuff. I know it's weird to say, oh my goodness, 0-day exploits all the time, every day. It's the cyber bad weather. But look, that means that like we're finding and fixing these problems. And we are getting better at that. And the new and places and old things, old software that we've been using for a decade and a half. But okay, we've found something new. We should take it seriously because it's everywhere. But hey, we fix it up. And that's improving the security line.
Yeah.
All right.
Rising tide lifts all boats.
Heck yeah.
Let's do another few questions here. What is something that you think most security teams are missing to be more secure?
LAPS, local admin password solution. Got to throw that in there when I can.
Yeah.
It's a free win.
Yeah, it's an easy one.
That is a free win.
Sorry, what is actually tactical? What's a good answer to that?
That's a good answer.
My thought would be culture and creating that openness where people really feel comfortable to share when things maybe aren't going as planned. But that's less security team specific. I think that's more like cultural.
I think it can be security team specific though, because I've seen security teams that will cause like almost a shame response
Yeah.
if someone does something. They do something silly they shouldn't. They click an email link. If you want that response to be, oh crap, I did something silly, I should tell someone, I don't think you should have that response be, oh crap, I'm afraid to go tell my security team, because that's probably the worst decision that you can make.
Can I hit you in the face with another one? Documentation. That's a slap in the face, though. That's like a
Oh, it's so good.
written it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, next question. This one might be for Josh, actually.
Oh.
PDQ Connect uses an agent on devices to report back. If this agent was hacked, what would be the consequences?
Ooh, okay. Define hack, right? Are you hacking agent on device or are you hacking command and control, right? Those are two very different things, right? If I'm a threat actor and I have access to your Connect instance from the command and control plane, I can do whatever I want on your Windows 2 boxes. The agent runs a system and I have live PowerShell terminal. It's
Go
mine.
wild.
The whole thing's mine. Now, if you hack the agent itself locally, right, the agent will only take command and control messages that are signed both by Houston, like the control plane, and then they also look for certificates that have to match. If it won't, it'll ignore those. So you're not really going to get a ton, right? Like you might see the inventory data that the agent is collecting, software installed, but presumably, if you're going to hack that agent, you've already compromised the system itself, so you're not going to get anything that new, right? So it really kind of depends on which perspective you're saying hack from, if that makes sense.
Don't let bad actors on your devices.
There you go.
It's a good rule.
It's the best rule. It's a rule I live by.
Yeah.
All right. We got a bunch of questions. Let's should we bust these as a speed round almost? Here we go. With cybersecurity landscape changing almost daily, what would you recommend for non-cybersecurity experts to look out for and mitigate? And what tools would you start with? Also, but see, wait, there's more to this question. What resources would you recommend as far as learning material for continuing education on the subject?
Oh, that was a lot of words.
All right, who's taking it? Who's helping me out here?
If you could be really snarky in your answer, that'd be awesome. Because this is my snarky friend.
Here's how I suggest we take this question, right? We covered most of it. Resources. What should I be looking for? Like, what should I know to look for? And I think knowing your inventory for continuing education is most. Like, what are you actually trying to defend, right? What applications are in your network and what vulnerabilities exist there? Do you have a vulnerability management program? If no, maybe start there, right? If you don't have data, you don't actually know what to defend. Like, you're just kind of throwing stuff to see what sticks. As far as external resources, John, what do you think? Like, you're a great external resource. I'll just plug it for you. You are a great external resource.
Thank you. Very flattered.
Well, you mentioned a tool that you used earlier. Do you want to talk about that tool?
I'm trying to think or remember which one you might be alluding to. Was that the one we pulled up on screen just a little bit ago? I think that might work well in another scenario.
Oh, okay.
I think like the CIS framework
is
a great one.
Yes, CIS controls, and this is ideal. If folks really want to get nerdy, they have MITRE. MITRE has the attack framework. If you just, that is falling off the cliff, though. That's like boiling the ocean to see, what all is out there in this taxonomy and lingo. MITRE, ATT, ampersand CK. MITRE attack framework.
It's not going to be cool unless it's leet speak.
They have a whole lot of others, though. They have a MITRE defend. They have a MITRE engage. And some of those are phenomenal. MITRE defend, I think, especially for seeing, hey, what could we do as a stopgap for this thing that might be beating us up, that might be an offend against us. So would recommend, if you're willing, peruse through those. Goodness, that was a big question, though. Did we miss something at the top? At the start of that?
I think you got most of it, actually. Well done.
There.
Well done. Yeah. All right, I'm going to give you a couple more big questions because people want to know. Do you have recommendations on where to find effective and straightforward tabletop exercises for cybersecurity incident response? Or maybe the question is, how can we really practice these things? We have policies and documents, training, phone trees, etc. But what more should we be doing? Thanks.
This was the one.
I do have one for you. And I got permission. I wanted to make sure it was all above board for me to mention, and I can try and pull it up on the old screen if that's okay. But let me be a fanboy for a little bit, if I may. If folks are familiar with this organization called Black Hills Information Security,
so good.
They are
so good.
Heavenly.
Pay what you
lovely.
want trainings as well. If you're trying to learn some stuff, they do pay what you want.
Yeah. So, super quick context, and I promise I'll answer your question for real. But Black Hills Information Security is put together by this fella. His name is John Strand. He is a wizard, genius, incredible human, and also has some others in like a tribe of companies. One of those is called Anti-Siphon Training. And that's where they do pay what you can training, where you don't need to break the bank, or you can have stuff that's affordable within budget for your team, for your techs, for engineers, for other folks. But one of the coolest things that they offer is this thing called Backdoors and Breaches. It is a card game. And I know that sounds silly, but it is literally a tabletop exercise. It's literally a game and simulation to be able to have the conversations of like, what the heck, threat actor got in via, whoops, we had an unconfigured VPN access or one way or another. And then we saw them pivot and do print nightmare to escalate privileges. They were able to actually exfiltrate based off all the confidential information, blah, 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 blah.
That's cool.
It's so cool. It's so much fun. It feels very Dungeons and Dragons like, if you're willing to embrace that much of your nerd upbringing. But take a look at all the sweet cards. And they also do a heck of a lot of sweet collaborations with other organizations. They have worked with, I believe, Dragos for a lot of the operational technology, industrial control system work. They've also done things with Red Canary, and they also have done things with Huntress. So I'll admit, there is a silly little card for myself. You can find my dumb, ugly mug on one of those cards for John Hammond. But they also have this online. So you could go to, I think, Play Backdoors and Breaches, and you can do this over Zoom. You can do this remotely, or you can grab the
We can throw it in Discord too. See, I was
Yeah.
asking. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I really
That's
like
fun.
Black Hills.
I want to play that, Josh. Can we do it?
Sure, let's do it.
I have a deck
Heck yeah!
at my house, so I can play with myself.
Yeah, it's a little far away.
But I have his card.
Okay, let's play.
Did I sign it for you?
No, I should have asked.
But,
Okay.
I'll sing the praises for them. Seriously, incredible resource.
Ready for another long one? No, we have a bunch of short ones.
Okay.
What, in your opinion, is a bigger threat? One, a traditional hack like a publicly exposed web server being hacked and rooted by the hacker, or two, one of our users getting phished and approving an MFA they shouldn't. The hacker then has all their files. Where should more cybersecurity efforts be focused? On prevention, option one, or option two?
Ooh.
Can you leave it up there for a second, Kelly? Because I forget it the second.
Yeah, yeah, once it goes away, I lose it.
I have a memory of a gnat.
I'd love to get everyone else's hot take as well, but I think there's a lot of nuance here.
Yeah.
Option two, the second scenario where one of your users getting phished, proving MFA they shouldn't, and the hacker has all their files. This is weird, but I'm going to talk in broad strokes. That is your organization, and that is awful. That's a nightmare. That's a doomsday scenario for you, I'll admit. Let me challenge that with option one. Traditional hack, like a publicly exposed web server being hacked and rooted. Public website. Big wide world internet. Not to say that could then be used to like push, force, and distribute malware out, but it could serve malware to other unsuspecting victims even after that one has been compromised. So that could turn into maybe one of the many domino effect, supply chain, poison the roots of the tree stuff. So if we're talking about that with that frame of reference, I would honestly say number one is a bigger threat.
Boom.
I don't want to disagree with you, John, because you're John, but I'm going to say two because not everyone has a public facing, but everyone should have MFA and everyone has users. Sorry, John.
No, hey, this is cool. This is a good question.
It's a big. It depends for
Yeah,
me.
a
Like
lot of
what
nuance.
is the web server doing? How much traffic does it get? Like there's so much context that's missing there, and we're making a lot of assumptions. So I hate it, but I'm just gonna say I don't know. It depends. They both suck.
No, you have to pick, John. Come
Okay,
on,
okay.
Josh.
If I had to pick, I'll pick from the perspective.
Option three.
I'll pick from the perspective of PDQ.
Because we have public
Right?
facing though.
That public facing app server.
Yeah,
You want to talk about
dangerous.
things that keep me up at night?
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
That.
Your
for
website
PDQ.
starts.
Just a second. I got to get something to throw
Yeah.
at Andrew in case he doesn't side with me. Go ahead.
Oh, Tara is completely right.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
I'll say for number two, though, I would not just be worried that they'd take my files. I'd be worried about maybe some other things happening after
For sure.
they approve the MFA.
For sure, yeah.
All right, let's keep plowing through these questions. To be an effective blue teamer, is it important to understand the red team side?
Yes.
Oh, he did the chop. I like it. Chop, chop.
How do you defend if you don't know your adversary?
Yeah.
It's been very cool to see that change. Like, because initially, maybe 10 years ago, red team, blue team, very divisive. Purple team, and there's just more of this collaborative understanding that we're all working on security stuff together.
Oh, yeah.
We did a purple team exercise. Oh, I can't remember, a few months ago with an organization, and it was the most fun that I've had in a long time.
Wow.
Right, being able to, because like from my perspective, I was in like the control group that kind of watched both things happen live, and then watched the collaboration happen immediately after, like to strengthen the security posture just generally. Like that was so much fun.
Is I think a really like fun conversations, just genuinely like, hey, it makes me smile when you have the red teamer be like, yeah, dude, then we did this, and then the blue team was like, oh yeah, we caught that, we saw that
Yeah.
one. I mean, the red teamer was like, well, did you see this? I'm like, no, we didn't catch that.
Yeah,
so it's just cool.
The best thing ever is to have the red team say, I can't, can you give me access over here, please? Like that is the ultimate win.
Oh my gosh, Rachel is going to love him so much, huh?
Yeah.
Other Rachel. I mean, this Rachel too.
Everyone named
Other
Rachel.
Rachel's going to totally love you.
I told the Uber driver I was Rachel, so there's three now.
I was
Everyone's
wondering if I should jump into that and be like, I am also Rachel.
All Rachel.
All right, we've got 5 quickie questions left. What is your take on groups that laterally destroy the scammer call centers in India?
Oh, does that keep you up at night?
So the quick assist video that I was talking about just a bit ago was actually inspired by a lot of that scam baiting work. So if folks might not be tracking, there are other creators or folks online on the internet There's a Kit Boga that some might know, a Jim Browning, a scammer Payback. He goes by Pierogi with the blue hair. And a lot of folks that do this to try to stop the scammers that will call innocent people to act like an Amazon refund or a Geek Squad or Best Buy tech support for their Norton subscription that has been renewed and cost them whatever $800, blah, blah, blah. So it's all fake. It's all a lie. It's all a scam. So these individuals will try to waste the scammers' time so they aren't attacking real victims. And sometimes they can push it a little bit further and maybe gain some access to be able to, hey, really stop a lot more of the scammer operations. I got to get together with Scammer Payback and some of the folks that put together this event called the People's Call Center. And it was incredible. It was like a whole call center for us to try to go on the offensive on the other scammer call centers. It was life-changing. It was phenomenal, and it made incredible friends and memories there. And I still keep in touch with some of those, and I hope to maybe try my flair at that soon-ish, just as well. I've got a couple things in the cooker for some of that scam bait content and material. I know it might not be in everyone's thing, but I think there is still really good effort and mission there of like, look, we're trying to stop that bad act and ill intent.
And it's such a bummer because they target such vulnerable people.
Right. Grandma, grandpa. Like, yeah.
Fun. Okay. Next question. What is the weirdest attack vector that you have seen?
Ooh,
The weirdest.
weirdest attack vector. That is a super good question.
Internet of Things, maybe?
I don't
Which
know.
one? No, what's the weirdest?
Um,
That's a great question. What would you say?
I'm coming up with a blank for
yeah,
like a
weird is a very strange way to frame that.
I'm guessing some proprietary thing that APT created or like a nation state created would probably be, but I don't have any insight into what those would be. Like some kind of weird implant or something like that.
Yeah, steganography stuff where people or threat actors will hide some payloads in like the least bit pixels of an image. Those are kind of neat. I don't know if that's strictly weird. It's just kind of clever. Maybe some in the weird range, though. There are a lot of the April Fool's RFCs. Some folks might be familiar with like the teapot protocol. And internet carrier pigeon were some jokes for actually published protocols and TCP stack stuff. So that's the closest thing I might be able to scrape the bottom of the barrel for a weird.
Yeah,
Interesting.
for weird. I think the most interesting, attack vectors for me are the nation state level stuff where it's like embedded in ASICs, right? Or it's like hardware level stuff like that. That's really interesting to me, right? Where it can be triggered remotely, but only sometimes and only if I really want to. And maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't exist. Who knows?
All right, we've got two more. You ready? There we go. How big of a threat are users connecting to public free Wi-Fi and not connected to VPN
yes.
and still doing work on company resources, cloud, etc.?
Oh, quite a can of worms. This, I think, really ultimately boils down to your personal threat model, your own risk assessment. If you would like to be conspiracy theory paranoid, don't connect to any public Wi-Fi ever, then cool. That's you. That's your call. That's your decision. I'll be the first to admit, and maybe, sure, I'll get hacked. I'll get popped. I'll be compromised someday. Like, because I'll use a public Wi-Fi. I'm not super duper spooked by some VPN stuff, but that's just me. It again is your call and your decision. I think Defender, Windows Defender antivirus. I think a lot of the free. I think a lot of the defaults. I think a lot of what we are using for simple internet browsing these days is good. I wouldn't think, oh, we're doing any crazy exploits on Wi-Fi protocols realistically. I know there's been some new hullabaloo and some Wi-Fi attacks very recently, so we'll say that with a grain of salt, but I think it's rare and unrealistic for you at Starbucks or you at the library or you at the airport to suddenly be exploited, compromised. Am I wrong in that, guys? Can you help me out here? What do you think?
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm just not that interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just not that great of a target. Like, I mean, what do I have, right? I'm not to say, like, I'm not naive to say that, like, sure, I could be part of just, like, a victim of opportunity in a situation like that. But I think it comes to like a layered defense, right? Just because I connect to public Wi-Fi doesn't all of a sudden mean that all of these other layers in between are useless.
Right.
It means I may have weakened one, but it shouldn't be the only one. Like that's a different conversation.
Similar boat. I will say if I'm doing something kind of work related, I tend to like to connect to the company VPN.
But I mean, okay, company VPN for work makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But no Nord VPN or Express.
I was about to say, you know that this is a sponsored switch the ad roll. No.
I'm a paranoid freak, so no, I never do it. But I've been through a ransomware crypto locker.
Oh goodness, I'm sorry.
So I'm ultra paranoid. So no.
Yeah. But so are we
chicken.
taking this conversation from like your personal life and your personal computer or your work devices and work access?
Oh, personal life? I don't care.
Yeah, because I'm
on
answering
everything.
from like my personal life. Like if I've got my like personal laptop, I'm okay. If I've got like my work laptop, I'm going to treat that differently than I
Right.
treat the thing that I'm browsing Reddit on.
I'm much more paranoid than you. We know this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. But
I think we've all heard a lot of hype around how everyone needs a VPN for public Wi-Fi. I tend to not recommend that to people who think that they need it. Like the non-IT people who think,
I'm probably not accessing my bank
You-
on public Wi-Fi.
you're in so much trouble with Rachel right now.
I'm
She's
probably
gonna get
yeah.
you.
I'm not gonna. What are you doing, right? Like situation dictates. Like what? Like you said, what is your threat tolerance? What does that threat model look like? What does this look like when I'm taking these actions?
Right.
What is the risk profile?
if my personal Facebook was hacked, it would be hilarious.
I giggle.
That's not a challenge, but
Yeah.
All right, final question. Preference on passwords or passwordless login? Windows, hello, biometrics, etc.
Oh, super good question. I use a password manager personally. So long, complex, the ungodly long, like the highest maximum setting it'll let me. I know it's stupid and annoying when I try to log into a TV to watch Netflix, but I do that because passwords aren't dead. And I don't know if they ever will be, right? It's like cash, paying for what you might for any good. I know we use credit cards and we like to use our Apple Pay crap, but cash is still a thing. And it's always going to be accepted, much like a password tends to have to be. I love passwordless logins. I have a YubiKey. I try to do some of the hardware authentication with like a hardware token, the best that I can. And Windows Hello, or like Windows Hello for Business, where it's either a fingerprint or whatever, I am a huge advocate for those. That is, I think, the best option that you can right now, and would continue to advocate for that. But understanding you've got the weak link in the chain of passwords in the back, so use a manager where you can. If folks aren't familiar, there's the three sort of pedestals for authentication. There's something that you know, which is traditionally a password, something that you have, which is the 2FA, like your cell phone, you hit a push button, or, hey, again, your physical token, and then something that you are, like your fingerprint or your eye for an eye scan. So when you can put those three together, that's usually pretty good validation verification you are who you say you are. So the closer you can get to filling all of those three, the better you are.
I'm in the same boat. I hate passwords. I hate passwords.
Yeah.
So I'm in the same boat where anywhere that I can either use single sign-on so that I'm reducing the number of exposed passwords I have, right? Because eventually, somewhere along the line, you're going to have a password, probably. Like, because just not everything's there yet. So just it's a reduction of that attack surface for me.
Well, you do all the things he just said, so good job, Josh.
Hooray.
All right, John, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm sorry. I hope I wasn't rambling or yapping for too long, but
crushed it.
This has been a
crushed it.
blast. It's been awesome hanging out with you all. Thank you for letting me come hang out, and especially thank you to you all tuning in. I really love all the hospitality and the warm welcome, so thank you.
All right, for PDQ, John Hammond, thank you very much. I'm Tara.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Josh.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining our webcast today. One quick plug, Sysadmin Day coming up on, I do believe, the 26th of this month. I'm going to leave a link in the chat to our Sysadmin Day giveaway page. We're giving away a Corsair build kit, and the first 100 folks to register win a t-shirt as well, so check that out. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye.